to Rock Book Show, everyone, and joining me today is Miss Judy McGuire, who has written this awesome book called The Official Book of Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll List. And joining us, special guest who just came in, is Mr. Cliff Mott, who did all of these really cool illustrations for the book. And Judy, I just want to start with you because this is your second book. Your first book was called How Not to Date. And you also write a weekly column for about 12 years now for Seattle Weekly, and you are known as Date Girl. You're really good about pointing out to people that this is not the end-all, be-all, official sex, drugs, and rock and roll book.
Yeah, no, it's not exhaustive at all because I knew if I tried to make it exhaustive, like even if I were going to spend 10 years doing it, there'd be some fanboy going like, well, actually, that does not, you forgot, Filter's song off an unreleased EP. So
Well, then how did you two come together, and how long did it take you to write the book, Judy?
I don't really remember because we sold it to Backbeat. And that's how I hooked up with Cliff, is because my editor, Mike Edison, Cliff had done the punk rock book of lists and the heavy metal book of lists, and so it was natural to have him do this one too. And I had known they'd done books of lists, so I just pitched this one. And so I wrote it, and we were going to go on press, and I think we probably, the files were probably at the printer when the head of the parent company started reading the book. And they're Hal Leonard, which does all the sheet music, like if you have Guys and Dolls for the piano, Hal Leonard probably published it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in the Midwest, and he started reading Odorous' introduction to the book, which is all about like being a beast and having sex with aliens and smoking crack. And he was like, let me take a look in here. So his head basically exploded, and he was just like, no, no, no. And I asked my editor, well, is there one list, can we take a couple lists out? And he said, it's like, it's irredeemably filthy. We had already taken out Jizzly's 5 songs about fisting, which was a sacrifice for me and Cliff.
Yes.
But yeah, so then Mike actually helped me sell it to Soft Skull, and so it came out about almost a year later. So it probably took about 6 months, maybe 7 or 8.
Hey, Cliff, were you sad to see those illustrations that were in your mind for fisting go?
Crushed.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you have them. We could do that, as an outtake somewhere. Now, Cliff, you do illustrate rock posters and things. Is this something, did you have carte blanche on this? How did you and Judy decide what illustrations you were going to use and what your style was going to be?
We sort of had a rough idea of which ones to do. Between Judy, Mike, and I and myself sort of got together periodically, and we decide like, yeah, that'd be a good one to do. This one, which ones are more visual. And obviously the fisting one, that was pretty visual.
We're back to that.
And we just, and then I pretty much after that, I just run with an idea.
Very cool.
Yeah, some were completely obvious, like the Janis Joplin one with I just like drew everything that was found in her purse except the heroin, which wasn't there, oddly. And then some of the other ones I just sort of went with, just had to cobble together.
Well, there's some classics in there. A few of my favorites were the Barry White, Naked on the Piano, which I may never forget. The Match That Crotch game, also a good one. I like the Flava Flav. Did you have a particular favorite?
Geez. I like the Beastie Boys one. That one I thought came out really well. The Brass Monkey recipe.
Coco came out great too.
Oh yeah, that was good. My wife looked at that one. Wow, that really looks like iced tea. That's really good. She didn't even notice Coco. What about Coco?
Irredeemably straight, that wife of yours.
That's right. It was with 2 young daughters. It was also tricky. Like, what's Daddy working on? Oh, nothing.
Hey Judy, you mentioned the foreword to the book from Odorous Urungus. How important is the foreword to a book, just to give people an idea? Do you use that to set the tone?
It's like the warm-up comic at on the Tonight Show or something. Except for like normally it's just written by the author, and this time I was so excited that Oderus said yes.
That's great.
And he was so cool about it because first I just interviewed him on the phone and I cobbled something together and I sent it to him. And you might think Oderus is just a caveman dwelling in Richmond, like eating dogs and smoking crack, but he completely rewrote the whole thing and made it funnier and better. So I was like totally thrilled with that because it was also meant less work for me.
And you had a lot of cool collaborators for this book. This isn't just a one-woman show. You had Michael Musto and Andrew W.K. and some of my favorites, Eric Davidson and Shawnee Salt, who we've also had on the show. That's some nice Rolodex you got there, Judy.
Yeah, it was, a lot of people I just approached blind. Like Andrew WK, I just think he's really funny.
Yeah, that was great.
And I just wrote to him, and he was super sweet. He got back to me right away. Unfortunately, like, I emailed him, like, well, I'm sure you're probably too busy, but we'd love to have you at the reading July 12th at Powerhouse Arena. And he was really cool about it. He was like, oh my God, I want to be part of it. But unfortunately, his assistant had to be the buzzkill. He's on his way to Comic-Con.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but he's a doll. Like, everyone was so nice. And, yeah, people were so generous with their time. Like, Kathy Mason, who's a manager of bands, like, she wrote a really cool thing. This woman, Sarah Jezebel Diva, she's a female vocalist in Cradle of Filth, which a lot of people in the U.S. haven't heard of, but she's this really cool metal chick. She's been really wonderful. Other writers, Aaron Bradley, who used to work for Nerve.
Yeah.
Eric Davidson, Joe McGinty. Cliff hooked us up with Joe McGinty, and it was really cool. I hate asking people favors, but everyone was really nice about it.
And did they get to pick their own list?
I mean, if they wanted to. I mean, some people were like, well, what do you want? And I would just pick something for them. But if, I'd tell them the type of list we were doing, and a lot of them came up with their own lists.
Cool. And has anybody called and said, now that I've seen how great this book is, can I be in the sequel?
Yes, on the phone with people now. The sequel, Keith Richards is like, yes,
wants to be involved.
Oh my God, Murray Wilson came back from the grave.
Were there any rejected lists that you recall?
Beggars can't be choosers.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, it wasn't like Ozzy called me and was like, oh, I want to do this list. It was like, okay, thank you. No. Well, some people's lists were a little incomplete, and I worked with them to flesh them out a little bit. But, I mean, pretty much anyone who's going to do it took it seriously and did a good job.
Yeah. Well, now that Cliff is here, I can ask you both this question. Who may have charmed you in such a way that you personally would have been on one of these lists? And what list would that have been?
God.
You may pick more than one if you choose.
Well, my groupie days are long over.
Yes, might as well.
But yeah, there are quite a few people. Bruce Springsteen, Keith Richards, Joe Strummer. Well, yeah, that probably would have been a public sex list if he wanted. I love that. Cliff, your turn.
Cliff.
It would have been fun to back in the old days, of course. I've been able to trash a hotel room like Keith Moon style. That would have been fun.
He's staying out of trouble with his wife.
Yeah. Boy, really. Such a safe answer. Hey, Cliff, too, I'm looking at the cover again, and I'm just curious why you chose the pot leaf on the bass drum instead of a pentagram or something.
That was Mike Edison's addition.
Aha.
His editorial stance.
Very
Which was, I thought good. We actually used a pentagram on the Metal Book of Bliss on the cover, so we had to come up with something. I had nothing really. I was like, I don't know what should go on the drum.
It's a little more acceptable than a hypodermic.
Yeah, slightly. You're right. A skull and hypodermic crossbones.
And that didn't fly. Well, you guys have been so much fun. Judy, what are you going to work on next?
Paying my bills. I mean, I don't
skills.
know. I'm trying to put together a Kindle single and make money any way that I can. Pretty much. I'm doing a lot of copywriting. I'm still writing my column. That's about it.
All.
What about you, Cliff?
And I just got finished putting together my new website, cliffmott.com, and after that, I got a kid's book, oddly, that
Excellent.
I'm working on to pitch. In case anybody knows any agents or publishers that are interested, let me know.
Oh, you know what? Before we go, I do want to ask you one thing, Judy, especially from the column that you've written. You started back in 2000 when we didn't have the access to social media like we have now. How have you seen things change?
Oh yeah, I mean, texting and sexting
That's
and
what I was going to
sending
ask you about
pictures,
specifically.
like yeah, that has brought up an entirely new way of meeting, and also meeting, cheating, and getting busted cheating. There's, I mean, apps like Grinder. I mean, it doesn't really work for straight people, but for gay guys, like they can get laid without going to a public bathroom now. Yeah, it's really changed things a lot. It's made access a lot easier to other people.
And so I suppose we won't see naked pictures of either of you on the internet anytime soon.
Oh no.
Yeah, I have Polaroids. I'm old school, and they're from back when anyone would want to see them naked.
I do think it's tough to get stuff off the internet. It's hard to burn a Polaroid.
Well, me and an ex-boyfriend did that when we were breaking up. We had a ritual destruction of our filthy Polaroids.
Now that's a nice ex-boyfriend. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Congratulations on the book. Congratulations to both of you on the book. And I want to see your next collaboration.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.